going on. I want to do it the other way. Why is the camera being dumb? Nope. Why is the camera being dumb? Nope. Oh no, I don't want to do it this way. Oh, everything is going wrong for me today. Oh, how do I twist this the right way? Like this, and like this. Okay, I think we got it. Yeah, I gotta play with this stuff and figure out how this all works, because this is not the way I want to stream. I really wish there was a different way of doing this. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Well, you can't see me. I'm on the backside. Hi, how you guys doing? I'm not sure what's going on with my screen. There we go. Hello. Okay. I can't seem to get this. To flip the other way. Why does the screen have to be this way? I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna get this rocking and rolling here, and maybe we'll figure out if we can get this thing to stay standing. This isn't good. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody see me? Well, they can't see me because I'm on the back side of the phone right now, trying to look at settings. Why is that doing that? I need some weight on it. I have an idea. I'm sorry, guys. I actually wanted to do this on my laptop, but due to circumstances, OBS wasn't working for me. So I end up having to do it this way. Yeah. Oh. All right, let's see if we can get it here. Will you work for me now? Can I get you to stay there? Please stay there. Any comments? I'll deal with that in a minute. Are you going to stay? Looks like you're going to stay. It's not the view I wanted, but it'll do. I think that'll do. All right. Now, let's see if I can get this sorted. Close that. Let's go there. This one. There we go. Now we got the chat here. Okay. Can I pop the chat out? Pop out chat. There we go. All right. What are the settings I got there? Okay. Top chat I want. Live chat. There we go. eventually I will get this sorted. Sorry, I'm not very, I'm very new at this, but we're going to figure this out because I need to figure this out. And we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. I will be doing this on my computer in future. It's just right now OBS is, it's being a nightmare. Camera's crooked. Okay. You fix that camera just a tiny bit. That looks a little straighter. All right. Then I have that going there. Well, I have no viewers, so. Hey, Windmoor, how you doing? You're the only viewer. What did I just do? Close that. Maybe we'll put the chat back over there. I might be able to, I'm my only viewer. Hi Windmoor, how you doing? We'll just give this a few minutes. I know I don't normally do live streams, but we're gonna make this a regular thing, and we're gonna be changing the angle. It won't let me change it. I don't know why. It's forcing me to have it this direction. Hey, Station Hill. Hey, Ontario. That's where I'm from. Well, actually, technically I'm from my mother, but I was born in Ontario. Welcome aboard. Welcome to my first live. Well, not my first live, but my first one here. Hey, Clubby. Look at the camera. There you go. Yeah, I'm just going to let things settle in. Once again, I really apologize for the phone. I don't understand why it won't let me flip it, because I really want to put it the other way, and I don't know how this works. Actually, I'd rather be right on the computer doing this, because there's so much information I want to share with you guys, but I can't share it because my OBS isn't working. And that's something I'm going to have to work out, because I want to do this every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And moving forward, it will be my political sphere, my channel. I'll keep the daily vlogs non-political, and my videos just kind of like my videos, my normal vlogging stuff. And yeah, so today I want to talk about ferries, and not the fairy type, the ferries. Oh, well, thank you. I don't recognize the name. I'll have to pay more attention. Sorry, I don't recognize the name, but I'm glad you've been around for a while. I'm a pretty unique person. Strange to keep people around. Oh, is this chat like it's saying ahead? Okay. So, how long have I been going now? Just a couple of minutes. Oh, I've been going for 10 minutes already. Oh. No wonder people start their live streams and then like 10 minutes in, they finally actually get started. I think I'm starting to understand this. Let people get in on this and get things stabilized. So, there's a lot of information I would have loved to share right on screen with you, and I was trying to get all that worked out. I will get it sorted as these live streams become more routine. Right now, OBS is giving me a nightmare, and I've been working all morning since 8 o'clock this morning. I went and had coffee about 7:30. Since 8 o'clock this morning, trying to figure this out, get the OBS working, and it's not working. So sorry about this one. We're going to make this one work. But I want to talk about ferries today. And I know a lot of us are squawking at EB for not building ferries in Canada and everything, and I think we're a little short-sighted and misunderstanding. There's a reason for that he never actually said until just recently that I knew right from the beginning. And I think it's important that, if we're going to criticize, then we need to fully understand what we're criticizing. And it's very frustrating to me, especially recently. It's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped doing political stuff, is because I wasn't, I don't like making content just to be angry at something. And that's what I find a lot of, I don't know, right wing content is, just to be angry. I'm not interested in that. I would look for solutions. I'd like to make Canada a better place. I'd like to find solutions to our problems. Um, I don't want to just be angry for the sake of being angry. And I don't want to create content to rile you up just for the sake of riling you up so that I get clicks and views. I'd rather not have views at all than do stuff like that. So it's kind of why I kind of backed away from politics. I really didn't want to do that. Now, to say that, I mean, there's a lot wrong with our country and a lot that were misdirections, I'll tell you. And we're definitely going to get into that with David Eby here and the BC Ferries nonsense stuff. And can you guys hear me? I want to make sure the audio is good. My phone is like, I don't know, 3 feet away from me, and I want to make sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear? Let me type. I may actually put that in chat as well. Let's see if you guys can hear me. So yeah, I know there's a bigger story in the news. I've been watching it too, about Trump canceling all the trade deal. Maybe we get into that a little bit today, or canceling all trade negotiations. Yeah, let's get into that first while we're waiting, because what I have to do about the BC ferries is a little more in depth. Who didn't see this coming? Trump said it from the beginning. He would rather a liberal government because he'd be able to do what he needs to do. He said this before we even had the election. Okay, I'm not sure why everybody's so shocked that Trump walked away from trade negotiations with him. Trump warned us ahead of time. You quit doing this nonsense with the U.S., charging them for stuff that they don't need to be charged for. Break down the dairy cartel and deal with our incessant need to legalize stuff that doesn't need to be legalized, and deal with our 100-year or the century initiative, I guess that would be the best way to put that. Like, I just don't understand it. It's really confusing to me that people are shocked that Trump walked away from the negotiations. He wanted the liberals because then he'd be able to do what he needs to do. And this is exactly what he needs to do. That's why he didn't want the conservatives in there. He knows the conservatives were there to actually make Canada prosper. And in order to make Canada prosper, that means working well with the U.S. It means no tariffs for the U.S. because Canada and the U.S. would be more interlinked, sort of. Like, not this 51st state nonsense, but like how Canada and the U.S. have always been, is we're sort of like, big brother and little brother. That's what we've always been. And I don't understand why, you know, if Trump wants to make the U.S. superior, and then he says that he would rather a liberal government over the conservative government, that should have been a red flag for everybody. Why would he want a liberal government? It's not that he can work well with them. It's because it makes it easier for him to do to manipulate and to walk away. It's not rocket science here, people. This is just politics. And while we watch a lot of politics, why couldn't we see this? Why are we shocked? I'm just in awe that we are so befuddled and up in arms. Oh my God, Trump walked away. Well, of course he was going to. This was inevitable. And then you have no wonder, like, it's not even a shock to the liberals in Carney, because Carney is running around everywhere but the U.S. trying to make deals, security deals with the EU, trying to get trade deals with the EU, trying to integrate Canada with the EU, trying to join the EU is the latest conspiracy theory. Sorry. Great sound. Oh, buddy. I was like, hold on a minute. Does someone think I'm Trump calling me daddy? No, it was buddy. Sorry, bad me. I'm so sorry. I misread that. There's a lot of, it's very difficult to read on the screen because of the sun and like, it's not coming through very well. Yeah, that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. So, Carney's been running around and, you know, trying to make all these deals with nations that Trump is currently penalizing. And, you know, if it's almost like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and Carney's running around trying to make friends with Trump's, they're not enemies per se, but, you know, adversary in the trade negotiations. And he's signing deals that Trump is trying to negotiate out of deals. Or sorry, I'm not saying this right. Get my brain right. Trump is negotiating with these countries, trying to get the particulars in trade deals removed that Carney is trying to sign Canada up for. Digital service tax. It's a tax. Trump called it out years ago, calling it a BS tax. Forgot about it. And now he's just been reminded of it because, well, now they have to pay the bill by the end of the month. I think it's on Monday they have to pay the bill. Yeah. I didn't intend to be in vertical mode, but I can't seem to flip it the other way. Sorry. But that's because I couldn't get OBS working on my laptop, and in future I will get that fixed. It's just this was an idea that I decided to do yesterday. Was let's get the Saturday thing started like right away. So here we are. But I will be yeah, no, I can see it there. It's, yeah, I'm not happy with it being in vertical mode either, but it is what it is. So anyway, where was I? So Trump's trying to get all these little details removed. Carney's signing up for these details. And, well, you know, that's why Trump feels justified in walking away from trade deals. He's using the DST as the excuse, but you know, Trump wasn't going to actually negotiate it. Well, it's a lot easier for Trump to appease the Republican base If he has a liberal slash Democrat, because in the US they call them Democrats, here in Canada we call them liberals, left wing, whatever. If the Trump has a left wing government he's negotiating with in Canada, it makes life so much easier for him to be able to just get up and walk away. And his base are all good with that. And that's what they're actually aspiring for him to do. So, all this hoopla that we're in shock, it's not shock. I just don't get it. I think we're not thinking, is what I think. I think we're, Bubby, you're becoming a problem. And you're looking the wrong way. Say hi to the crowd. There you go. Sit that way. If you can. Maybe. I don't know. I give up on you. Do you? You're always looking for something else anyway. Anyway, I want to talk about ferries. And not ferries, but boats. Ferries. Again, I'm not surprised BC is going to another country for ferries. And us crying out that, you should build them here in Canada, Canada first, yada, yada, rah, 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 rah. Well, I don't mean to be rude, but that's ignorance on our part. Those that are advocating for that and trying to sound like that's what the route we should take, it's ignorance. Canada can't do that. Okay? And it's actually because of Harper why we can't do it. A lot of people don't realize this, but it's because of Harper why we can't build boats here in Canada. There's other reasons as well, but the reasons why the Canadian shipyards are not putting in bids for the BC ferries because of Harper. Because Harper decided to make a procurement to revitalize the Canadian Navy. All of our shipyards currently, and we don't have very many. We have actually next to none. I was looking up shipbuilders, the world shipbuilders, and Canada doesn't even reach the top 19. Okay, Canada doesn't exist for shipbuilding. Yes, we've got the urban shipping yards or whatever, but that's pretty much it. We have another one here, I think 2 in BC. Yeah, I think there's 2 in BC. But either way, if you think about it, we just finished the second Coast Guard vessel. But there's also 15 new destroyer type vessels that are being produced now. Just saw a thing for it actually this morning. We're building 15 new destroyers here in Canada. It's not a conversation they like to have publicly because you really don't want to tell the world what your Navy capabilities are. I don't want to get into too many details about it myself. But suffice it to say, we have a contract currently for 15 new naval vessels. If you remember, a couple of years ago, we had a supply ship or fuel ship that had to get towed back to BC from Hawaii because it caught fire. And when it came back, they discovered that they needed to replace this vessel. And in order for the Canadian Navy to actually function, they need this vessel. So that became priority build. That hasn't finished being built yet. We're still using the U.S. supply chain to do our Navy supply because that vessel is not finished yet. So there's a lot of factors in there why BC did not go to Canada for building these ships. And they're legitimate factors. But in our hoopla to create clicks and media and outrage, we start demanding that they build them in Canada. We don't have the capacity. And this is where this is kind of where I started getting a little annoyed with right wing. But of course, China had. Oh, we'll get to China in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to China in a minute. I'm not saying China's the answer. Oh, God, no. I actually got a better answer, an actual solution. And it's a well thought out solution as well. But we'll get to China and all that in a minute. Okay. Um, I just wanted to underline that fact that, as content producers and YouTubers and such, we keep trying to drive this, and we keep saying it's, we got, it's basically anti-liberal, anti-left wing, whatever you want to call it. We need a left wing and we need a right wing if we're going to fly. If Canada's going to soar, we need two wings. We can't demand that we only have right wings. You need to start thinking collaboratively. That doesn't mean I'm going to give the left wing a pass, but I'm not giving the right wing a pass either. And I think we are getting, in order to get clicks and views, we are creating outrage that's invalid. And that is a problem. That validates the left wing's opinion of the right wing, showing that, misinformation or disinformation or all this other, I don't know, whatever, all the other labels they throw on us. Okay. Hey, from my hometown. Welcome, Canucks Way. And that's what, when I do these political live streams every week, this is something I want to bring. I want to bring a perspective that's more centrist, more in line with one goal and one goal only. Let's make Canada the best country on earth. Polyev said it for a long time. But then he started being weird. And I don't know. That's kind of what I think cost him his it's raining. Yeah, I heard it was going to be raining there. My son was going camping over by Mattawa, and his tent got soaked, and his cot and everything just soaked. And I think it's important that, if we're going to make this the best country, I may not agree with Carney being our prime minister. That's a fair, valid thing to say. You don't agree with Carney being our prime minister. Maybe you don't want Polyev being our prime minister. And that's fair too. But if they do become it, how do we make that work for Canada? Call out the BS, 100%. I'm with you, let's do it. But let's use our heads. Let's think of, even if we have a bad circumstances, how do we use that to our advantage? And that's where we need to start working. Now, there are situations with this ferry contract that I have major issues with. The China deal, that is Carney and the Liberals trying to disassociate. They are trying to distance themselves from this situation, but yet having full control over the situation. You see, I do believe it was last fall, Polyev in the House of Commons was calling out the fact that we have this infrastructure bank in China, and we've put so many billions of dollars into this, but it was in Canada. We have this infrastructure point here in Canada that, we're investing into it, but we're not actually spending any of that. We're not actually building anything. And this is Carney actually utilizing that program. You see, we built the infrastructure bank in China. Canada built it. Infrastructure bank in Canada. Hey, Frosty, how you doing? Sorry. Not raining in Point of Bear? Barrel? I know where that is and I can't place it. I recognize the name, but I don't know where it is off the top of my head right now. Anyway, Canada created this infrastructure bank in China and invested Canadian taxpayer money in China that's been sitting there for years. Years. Just sitting there. As the world has been slowly moving away from dealing with China, China is like, well, hey, man, we need investment. You guys have this infrastructure bank here in our country. Well, why don't you utilize it? So this is, if you remember, prior to the election, Carney went to China. 1 month later, David Eby, Premier of BC, went to China. Imagine that. The same month Eby went to China, there was an article in the news, I remember reading this, that no Canadian shipbuilding companies are bidding for BC's new ferries. And that the contract period, the bid process is coming to an end, and there are potential bid countries or companies in, but none of them are Canadian, and we're really hoping that one of the Canadian companies, it was just to inspire, you know, the idea that we actually had the capacity to do this. We don't have the capacity to do this. I already went through that just a few minutes ago. Canada doesn't have a shipbuilding industry per se. Yes, we can build ships. Yes, but we're currently rebuilding our Navy right now. So we don't have the capacity to build passenger vehicles or passenger ferries. It's priority. Let's be realistic here. If you have the ability to build one car at a time, are you going to build a car that's going to defend you, create security, or are you going to defend a car that's for frivolous use? And that's what a ferry is. Yes, there are practical reasons for using a ferry, but it's not as imperative to a nation as security. Anyway, so moving on from that, let's go back to where Eby went to China. Now, those meetings, they were all, we talk about Carney going to China and it's about the Brookfield deal, da 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 da. No, it was about these ferries. It was about the Chinese infrastructure bank that Canada had invested into, that had Canadian taxpayer dollars sitting there waiting to go to the Chinese government. We just had to find a reason for it to go to the Chinese government. And that's the problem. As the world is pulling away from investing in China, Canada's investing into China. And that's where the Brookfield part starts coming back in. And that's where David Eby comes back in with one of his advisors, Wu. I forgot the first name. His last name is Wu, W-O-O. He was a advisor to David Eby that has ties to Chinese government business here in Canada that actually influences communities and people in Canada in favor of the Chinese government. And that's where that comes in. Once he, I don't feel the world is moving away from China. I think relations with China seem to be normalizing. I think people are moving away from trade and investment in the U.S. I don't agree. I think trade and investment in the U.S. is actually doing just fine. Um, I think that's just media spin, trying to tell you that yes, there's less tourism to the U.S. from Canada, 100%. But the U.S. has 350 million people. Last time I checked, the 50,000 to 100,000 Canadians that go there is like, oh, darn, we didn't sell 20 cups of coffee today. We only sold 19, kind of thing. You know, I really don't see it. I see the U.S. is still quite dominant economically. Um, Canada's influence in the U.S. is eh. Yes, there are some shying away from the U.S. From countries. They are making that, you know, big statement, pounding the chest. Oh, you know, U.S. bad, but all the major investment industries in the world pretty much are based out of the U.S. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's like Siemens, Germany, but they have such a huge investment within capital investment within U.S. infrastructure that they just can't break that tie. And that goes for all the international conglomerates. There's such a integrated tie back to the U.S. that you're talking probably at least 30 years before they can break any of these ties. It's just the amount of integration from these conglomerate may not be the right words. International corporations and the ties directly into the U.S. are just too tight. Um, it doesn't matter what Trump is doing right now. Trump is a 4-year term. They're just going, oh well, this is going to be a 4-year rough ride. Then we'll go back to normal. It's not. It's yes, 50 billion has left Canada, but don't forget that's over a 10-year period um, of bad policy. Sorry, not it didn't leave over the 10-year period. It's been 10 years of bad policies consistently over and over and over and over again. And at some point, you cut your losses. We re-elected another liberal government, basically the exact same liberal government, just with a new makeup. Um, because I can't even say a new face because he was the face from 2020 in the background. So it's the same government, and companies understand that, and slowly they've slowly stopped investing in Canada to the point that they can afford to actually pull away now. And that's where these companies can afford to actually pull that 50 billion out of Canada. Um, but there's still interest in investing in Canada. You look at Danielle Smith. She's like, I've got investors ready to build this pipeline. We just need to get approved and authority to go through. Um, yes, there is the nuclear energy program. Well, the uranium from Canada. The U.S. doesn't need that because Trump is all about these micro nuclear things. And as far as Ontario supplying energy and Quebec supplying energy to the U.S., I think that's slowly going to get dwindled. I think Trump has realized that that dependency there is becoming difficult when it comes to trade barriers or trade negotiations, and I think they're going to slowly dwindle that out, much slower than what they did, but basically the same way that they're pulling the auto industry out of Ontario. The auto industry is being forced to leave Ontario, but that's been going on for what, 20 years now. It's been being pulled out of Ontario. We're crying about it now because it seems a little more rapid, but it's been going on for more than 20 years. I remember back in the 90s, people crying, oh, well, you know, they're opening a new plant in Ohio or in Mexico, and, you know, we're getting less work here in Ontario, but yet the union goes on strike and demands more. And it's like, well, yeah, you wonder where your jobs are going. Well, that's where they're going. That's why they're going. um, Yeah, I agree with Frosty on that one. We should be refining it here in Canada and selling the end product, not the raw product. It would be more beneficial to Canada if we did that. Anyway, sorry, back to China and this ferry thing, because I really want to get into this. Okay, so I went looking up the top 10 leading. I would show you this on screen right now, but OBS wasn't working for me. It was giving me a headache. I went looking at top 10 maritime nations leading the shipbuilding industry. And I think there was an opportunity here for Canada to actually make a good investment and a productive investment. And I think with enough pressure on EB right now to cancel this China contract, we actually could come out ahead, as well as helping an ally of ours, an ally that I think would be really, really good to work with, and that's the Philippines. You see, when you look at the top 10 shipbuilders in the world, China is number one because of cost. Second is South Korea. Um, or sorry, let me start that over again. China, um, key strategies, cost effectiveness, and government support. South Korea, key strategies, advanced technology, high value vessels. So, advanced vessels. And Japan comes third with efficiency, quality, and specialized vessels. Okay. But, okay, if and the US comes in at fifth, but the US only builds pretty much military vehicles. I want to get down here. Where is it? No, 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 no. What is the U.S. here? Yeah, in the U.S., as far as being fourth in building ships, they specialize in aircraft carriers, submarines, amphibious, naval auxiliary, commercial cargo ships. They do those. Aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, cruisers. Um, and those cargo ships are built in California, but we're talking American, the high cost to deal with the Americans. But I recommend the Philippines. I say if we did business with the Philippines, and I have reasons for this, why I think that the Philippines would be an ideal location for Canada to relate to do business with. The Philippines is a nation that we actually have a lot of workers in Canada from the Philippines. The Philippines is an island nation, so they understand what's the proper word here? Naval industry and naval commerce and naval transportation. They they are the world's leader in crew complements around the world on all the different ships that travel international waters. The Philippines is the number one nation to get staffing from. So if you have all that knowledge in your engineers, your seamen, your officers, your captains. Um, you understand how a ship needs to operate. You understand how a ship maneuvers, and you understand all those nuances of a ship. It's like, how do you put this? When you're hiring a contractor to build you a new bathroom, you'll go through and look at several different contractors. You're going to get that guy that'll come in and say, "Yeah, I'll do this for 20 bucks." And he'll come in and he'll just slap some putty on the wall and call it a day. And that's the Chinese boat. That's the Chinese ship. Then you have the guy that's going to come in and he's got, like, bunch of experience, but he's so minute details and trying to make it to the modern technology or whatever, modern, and it just puts the price so far out of reach. It's unbelievable. But then you have the guy that's been working in construction for 30 years, but decided to finally start his own business. And he understands what it takes to build that, but has never done it on his own. So he decides to strive out there and make it for himself. And that's where the Philippines come in. They are actually fairly new at building ships, but because they're so new at it, they actually build high quality vessels because of their understanding of how a vessel needs to operate on the ocean and in the waterways, due to their staff basically filling every ship on the planet. Um, but because they're new at it, they have competitive pricing. Their pricing structure is lower so that they can compete in there and create higher quality vessels. I need to go back to this because I don't know what the chat's doing. Oh, Frosty's going crazy here. Um, no, no, it's the same. It's the same thing. So if Aquila is a U.S. based yacht company that manufactures their boats in China. Yeah, well, Tesla builds their batteries in China, if I'm not mistaken, too, but it's a U.S. based company. Um, I don't know. Um, I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what that. Yeah. Anyway, I guess it's because I said that people are slowly pulling away from China, but it's it's more than just investment into China. It's that they're finally trying to break free of the China dominance of the world markets for manufacturing. It's going to take time. It's not an overnight fix. We're not going to be able to just go, oh, we're not buying from you anymore. That's not going to happen. It's kind of like what Carney's trying to do to the U.S. and it's like Canada is like, well, no, we buy from them. That's what we do. So the Canadian companies are still doing what they have to do, but now we have to pay more because Carney's an idiot. um, it's not going to change anything. These contracts are like 20, 30 years old. Like they have a duration period, and it's not a one term of a particular administration where you're going to see these transitions. That would create such unstable markets in the world that it would just collapse every economy. You couldn't depend on anything at that point. And that's not the way business operates. Business operates on stability. So if you're going to transition from one particular nation to a new direction, that's going to take a long period of time. And that's what I'm talking about. People are starting to pull away from China because the influence China is starting to begin to exert on the rest of the world. They're starting to recognize it, and they're starting to recognize that, hey, wait a minute, we have a situation here where a country that we philosophically disagree with, that yeah, they can manipulate their economy so that costs are cheap, but we need to start to reevaluate because they're using that cheap labor in order to manipulate us. Um, it's it's a long process, and it's not really the direction I was heading in this whole thing, but it's kind of where we are. So anyway, back to the Philippines. I think the Philippines would be a much better location for us to build our ships. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Where is it now? Now, I think I mentioned um, about David Eby and his ties with Mr. Wu. There was actually a stream here. Um, let's see if I got my volume up. Where's my volume? My volume all the way.
I'm here today to highlight some of the names and entities covered in my updated book and to pose a question.
This is. Oh no, it's Senator Wu. I might have the name wrong. Um, but he'll say it
Should
here.
other
This is
Canadian
Sam
journalists
Smith.
be examining the openly available evidence surrounding these networks?
This is Sam Smith. It's on X. It's about foreign interference with Senator Wu and O named along with Liberal MPs Pam Baines and Mary Ng, posted by Andy Lee. Um, but this is Sam Smith having a press conference in Ottawa just last, I think it was last fall, if you remember, if I'm correct.
Firstly, my book recounts reporting on a 2020 tape recording provided to me, where Senator Yuen Pao Wu is heard in a 47-minute private briefing with the Canada Committee 100 Society. This group included Conservative Senator Victor O as an advisory member, along with an individual officially listed in a Chinese United Front Overseas Leaders Group. The Canada Committee 100 Society is led in Vancouver by Ding Guo, a journalist who is also an advisor to British Columbia Premier David Eby.
That's a Guo. Sorry, Ding Guo was the advisor to David Eby, and that's what I was trying to bring up earlier. So these ties back to yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was going to bring up the steel in a few minutes here. Um, but Ding Guo, and this is where the ties come back, and they David Eby did not strategically think about this. Well, sorry, he probably blew off strategically thinking about it. He the ties between the Liberal government, Mark Carney, David Eby, the obligations, the the Chinese infrastructure bank that Canada set up, all these ties intermingled there. Brookfield, all these ties. I should have Moose on the Loose's board here. Uh, all these ties are why these ferries got the contract in China. And it's the problem is we have standards here in Canada, If you were to build a ship here in Canada, much like David just said there, um, yeah, David, like David just said there, the steel you would have to use would have to meet a certain criteria because you're building it in Canada. But in China, we don't hold them to that account. Where if we went to the Philippines, we could set the standards. We don't set those standards on China for some reason. And that some reason is all those obligations back to that country. And this is where I'm saying com- countries are beginning to realize how China is influencing. And that's where I was trying to say about China, countries trying to pull back from them. It's I'm not very good at this live streaming thing. A lot of times I really need to wrap my brain around how I'm going to word things because it comes out as a jumbled mess. Um, the ties to China are the obligation to build them there. And that is it. That is the only reason why we're building them in China. Well, I mean, there's a cost as well, but you know, it's I think I think it's important to also bring up something David Eady said in his CTV interview with Vasi, and I'm sure we've all seen it. It was at the beginning of the week, where he was asked about pipeline going um, through BC, and his whole excuse was, we can't demand the federal government invest into building another pipeline when this pipeline isn't even full. But it takes years to build a pipeline, and this pipeline is over 80% full. It won't take that long to fill this pipeline. So that whole argument is moot. But he said he doesn't want federal funds to build another pipeline. But he just took $1 billion of federal funds to build 4 ships in China. The contradiction in terms there, like it's so bizarre to me to hear them talk like this. Like, oh, well, we don't want federal funds for this project, but we want federal funds for this project. Oh, well, where's the logic in that one? You either want federal funds for infrastructure projects or you don't. And if you're telling me you don't want federal dollars for infrastructure projects, why did you just take $1 billion to build ships in China? Those ships are infrastructure project for BC, but you took federal dollars for that. Why won't you take federal dollars to allow Alberta to ship its oil? It's it's politics to the max. It's ideology over intelligence. I don't know. Ideology over logic. Um, you have a stance, and I'm speaking directly to Edie on this. You have a stance that's interfering with the productivity of this country. Do you know how many people in BC will actually profit from a new pipeline going through their lands? The BC government profits from that. The ships that dock to load up, they pay a fee to the BC coastline for the BC, using the BC coastline for environmental protection and or whatever excuses you use to charge as much as you do. BC makes money off this, and it's just mind-boggling to me that they would shoot themselves in the foot on one hand and then demand the exact same thing on the other. It's like I don't understand the logic behind this, other than you chose ideology over logic. North of Perry Sound, you made a short video while you were here. You were on your way to 1.0? Oh, TO from out west when you were in Puppers. Oh, north of Perry Sound. No, maybe not everybody does. Not everybody wants a ferry either. Not every, it's obvious not everybody wants a ferry built in China, but we're doing it. This whole idea of not everybody wants something, that's fair. I don't want a liberal government, but it's what I got. So, did it change anything that I don't want them? No, I still got them. So, you don't want a pipeline. But if you get it, you get it. I mean, you got to figure out how you're going to work with, and that's the whole idea behind what I want to do with these live streams. Is I don't want to just argue to be angry at something. I want to find solutions. We need to find those middle grounds where we actually make Canada better. I don't want a liberal government. I have a liberal government. So let's make that work for us. Let's stop trying to you're horrible. Mark Carney, you're the worst thing on the planet. He is, 100%. He's not good for Canada, but he is what we have. So let's work with it. Let's try and make it work. Let's try and utilize it. Let's find solutions in Canada that can make Canada better, utilizing him, rather than just sitting there crying and whining that he is bad for us. We need to stop doing that. It's why I hated doing politics back in when I started this. It's it's difficult to have these conversations, especially when there's so many emotions wrapped around it, and I really wish people would leave the emotions out, and start to think more with our heads and find solutions that would actually be beneficial rather than just going with, you know, building ferries in China is bad. We should build them in Canada. Well, you didn't think that one through because Canada doesn't have the capacity to build the ferries here. So let's find another solution that would work. Let's work with a nation that supplies the staffing requirements of all ships all across the world. Um, it supplies, I do believe it's 80% of all crew members on international vessels are Filipino. I think it's somewhere in there. I can't. It would take me too long to look it up. Let's work with that nation to build our ships. They're an up and coming shipbuilding nation. They understand how a ship operates. Work with that nation. They're an ally of Canada. Work with them. Let's build our ships there. Let's find solutions to our problems that don't just create more problems. It's we can't just keep going on about what we don't like instead of finding things that we can work with those that we don't like to make things better. The reality of the situation is, and all us right wingers calling out that we need to build them in Canada, it's not feasible. It's not an option. If BC was to build them here in Canada, we'd have to wait till 15 destroyers are built first. Do you want to wait that long? We just finished 2 ships, and it was procured by Harper. I think we need to get the ball rolling a little more. Canada doesn't have the capacity to build these types of ships. Um, in an efficient manner. We have the capacity to build them. We just don't have the efficient. We just can't build them efficiently. We don't have the infrastructure to build them. And if you're talking about building up a whole new industry in Canada, building ships, I mean, $1 billion to China sounds cheap at that point. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's true. We just worry about money these days. But I mean, money does make the world go around, isn't it? As far as spending more money around the world on refugees and immigrants, I would say no. I would say they spend more money around the world on refugee and immigrant NGOs, which is, if you're politically corrected, you start an NGO so that you can make money. I think you get where I'm going with that one. It's not that they spend more money on these particular people, because they really don't spend that much on these particular people until they get here. Then they spend more on them than they do Canadian citizens, which is really bizarre to me. And then they use the excuse of, well, we try to legalize really bad stuff for you, and you're addicted to that, so you're a horrible person. So you don't get as much money as some new person that come to Canada because they deserve $82,000 a year. It's really striking, because that inspires the Century Initiative, and that's where the problem lies. I suggested it in my CPCs during the election, how we get the puppet politicians out and have the people have their influence for political will. Um, in my CPCs, I stated that, we should have only 33 MPs, um, three from every province. Um, or sorry, 39 MPs, three from every province. Speaker of the House, no longer the Speaker. The Speaker of the House is now the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister does not vote on anything unless it's a tie. Um, we have 33, or sorry, 39, 38 um, ministries. So the opposition also become ministers. Um, and every seat in that house is a ministry. So this way, you have to work across the aisles. You have to work with the people that elected you in there. I say that the Senate vote should be an online vote tied to your income tax return, a code sent to you with your income tax return, where you go online once a month and you cast votes on particular bills. If you choose not to, well, then ignorance is bliss. Enjoy spending $1 billion in China. I don't know. I've been talking about that for quite a while in a lot of my videos. How Canada could actually become more civilian led rather than politically led, but there's no political will to actually implement all this, because that would impede on them. And the biggest thing change that they could do in Parliament, or as far as our government goes, is no more funding. All funding for political parties comes from the government, and it depends on your vote count. Whatever your vote count is, you get X dollars per vote that you receive, um, and that's how you get your thing. You cannot have donations anymore from the public or from corporation. There are no donation ways of doing things. You cannot have gifts. No different than as it currently stands. You cannot offer a gift to a police officer. You can't buy a police officer a coffee because it's considered influence. Why can you buy your politician a flight to Gaga Khan's island? That that you can't do that. Aga Khan, sorry, not Gaga Khan. So remove all money from political parties outside of the federal government actually funding them. And in order to pay for them, well, pay for that, we just knock it down to 39 MPs instead of 342 now? Why are we expanding this? No, I don't care how many people you have in your region, you get three per province. And that's so that no one province can have a monopoly on the rest of Canada. No, and even in that province, no one person can monopolize the the direction for the policies that they'll agree to, because there's three of them. They'll have to work together, and different regions of a province are going to vote differently. You get into the rural areas, you're going to get a conservative led ideas. You get into urban areas, you're going to get into the NDP, the left wing. That's kind of divided into two there. You get the low income, you get the NDP, you get to the higher income bracket, Laurentian style, you end up with the liberals. So you have all these different competing forces, and the only way that you're actually going to actually be able to fund anything or be able to do anything is based on voter count and voter interaction, civilian interaction. Well, then you return the power to the people, and but there ain't a politician in this planet that's actually going to do that. Um, anyway, that's completely off in left field for where I wanted to go with that. They are. They're oligarchies for sure. Um, what would incentivize a party to actually even exist if there's no financial gain from outside of the government coffers based on voter count? I don't even see how a party would even exist in this manner. If everything that dictates that party being there is based off of the number of votes you'll receive and paid by a set amount, and there is no increase to that based on, who you know, I don't see how parties would even exist beyond that. It would be more about people. These senators that we elect to lifetime positions will actually probably run because uh, the idea of a senator wants to serve the country for the betterment of the country is kind of where we'll end up. We'll no longer have politician as a career choice for financial gain. We'll have politician as a career choice for service mentality. And if you're in there for service, then your sole goal, and the only way you actually maintain your position is by appeasing the people, then your focus will be completely different. Yeah, that's why we had a drama teacher for 10 years. Anyway, guys, how long have I been on here? Oh, I only wanted to go for an hour. Well, I'm 15 minutes over. I am going to be wrapping it up pretty soon here. I do appreciate you coming with me on this little journey. I'm sorry about the angle. OBS became a nightmare. I couldn't get it to function properly. I will be fixing that and working on that over the next week. This will be scheduled Saturdays at 10 a.m. Every Saturday. We will talk politics. We will discuss different ideas. I am open to criticism, 100%. Always have been, always will be. I never claim to know everything, and I appreciate when people point out where I don't know something. I do appreciate it. I will defend my position, but that doesn't mean my position is right. It just means I have a particular point of view. And let's see if we can make Canada a better place. Let's stop just making clickbait to make people angry so that they click more, and let's stop doing that. Let's actually start to find ways that we can actually make this country better. Let's start focusing on, if we're going to be handed a shit sandwich, how can we make it taste good? You know, we got to figure out how we're going to eat it. Let's eat it. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how we're going to do this. Let's stop trying to complain that it's a shit sandwich. Sorry, YouTube, both language. I guess I probably shouldn't say that. Let's figure out how to make lemonade when we're handed a bunch of lemons. Okay? This is what we need to start doing. We need to stop crying that we have only lemons. Let's figure out how to make lemonades. Okay? That's probably a better thing for the algorithm. I'm sure they would appreciate me saying that rather than... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, Frosty. Yeah, and the great thing about running the Starlink now is the location is going to be interesting every week. It'll be different. We'll figure it out. I just chose this location because this was supposed to be the sacrificial Windmoor sacrificial altar, where they were going to sacrifice me. So, according to the comments, actually it was Blast Sheep's comment. So I chose this location. I thought that was appropriate for my first live stream out here. So yeah, but this is the goal. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I think it's 3 p.m. Atlantic, I think. I can't remember how far back Atlantic hours are. And 3:30 in Newfoundland. God, Newfoundland. Oh, warmest hearts you'll ever meet in Canada. I tell you, the people in Newfoundland are just incredible. They open their homes to you without even knowing who you are. They're just so welcoming and the warmest hearts you'll ever meet. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up. And I thank you very much for joining me. Hope to see you again. And welcome to the Fringe. How do I stop this now? Oh, there it is.